In this episode, we travel from Oregon all the way through Washington to Canada. Our crew hits the famous Whistler Mountain Bike Park and then tackles the trails in this mountainous region. We also give you an inside look at our Toyota Tundra build for overland and what makes this $175,000 truck so capable. It's all coming up next on Off-Road Travel TV.
Presented by Beta, the official motorcycle of Off-Road Travel TV.
Whistler is an absolute haven for mountain bikers. Today, we dive into what makes this place a rider's dream, with trails for everyone, from beginners to pros.
Whistler's a really big draw for the mountain bike community because number one, it is, I believe, the largest bike park in North America. A lot of pros will go train there. They also host Crankworks, which is this huge pro event. So of course everyone wants to ride where Crankworks is held. Plus the infrastructure of the mountain is outstanding. Lots of trails, lots of varied terrain with different difficulties, so it's good for all sorts of riding types.
This was a bucket list event for me. My favorite part about riding at Whistler today was hearing all of the people from all over the world with different accents speaking about how much fun they were having, seeing my friends, seeing my husband, riding down the trails, riding up the gondola together. It was just picturesque, a perfect day.
I've ridden off-road motorcycles in Canada about a half a dozen times, and I know the terrain is absolutely epic. So the thing that I haven't done is mountain biking, and that's been a bucket list item for Wyatt and I for a very long time. So the fact that we get to go there during summer, during peak time, right when everything is fresh, and go out there with, incredible downhill mountain bikes should be a lot of fun.
I'm a diehard mountain biker. I've been riding and racing for now 6.5, 7 years now. And having the opportunity to go to Whistler and ride the park was incredible. The trails there are immaculate, built to perfection and maintained perfectly. I felt like a rock star there, and I only rode maybe 5% of the trails that are at that place. It's fantastic.
I guess the biggest challenge with the mountain bike park was just going out there and dealing with a lot of crowd. It's an incredibly popular place, and it's arguably the most well-known, most popular mountain bike course in all of North America. We did a lot of research, prior to coming on this trip, so there hasn't been a lot of big surprises, but I guess the experience and seeing Wyatt's face going out there, at the mountain bike park in Whistler was absolutely unreal. This has been a bucket list item for him for a very long time. He brought his bike from Southern California just so he can have all the creature comforts of home, so he can go out there and give it his all. And I got to ride behind him, for about 20 miles and had an absolute blast.
My favorite part of riding at Whistler is just the quality of trails they have. Every trail is groomed well with great features, rock gardens, great berms built up, easy access on all the lifts, and really well marked.
Whistler's got the terrain, but with its popularity comes crowds. Here's how to make the most of it, even with a packed park.
If you're gonna make a trip to Whistler to go mountain biking, the first thing I'd tell you is give yourself a lot of time. I would recommend 2 or 3 days. There's so many trails and so much fun stuff to ride. You want a lot of time. The next thing is train ahead of time. Show up in good shape. If you've been off the bike for a month or two, maybe start getting some miles in so that you can handle those 2 or 3 days of hard riding.
Look at the trail map ahead of time. You can access it on the website, see how the trails are marked, figure out your skill level, and don't ride above it. Check out all of the options that are available and stay on those trails. They're clearly marked. It's beautiful. There's so much to see and do and access, just all right there at your fingertips.
Today at Whistler, we rode enduro bikes, so they're relatively long travel, but you can still pedal them uphill. That's what we rode. That's what I would recommend for most people, unless you're a big downhill guru. If you're a big downhill send-it guy, by all means, show up with a long travel downhill bike, hit it hard.
And there are signs everywhere that tell you to pre-ride, re-ride, and then free ride, which means take it easy, get your bearings, ride the trail first, and then have fun.
And then there's e-bikes, a real game changer. Whether you're skeptical or curious, let's break down why they're redefining mountain biking for everyone.
The rise of e-bikes have drastically changed mountain biking for a lot of people. Number one, it means mountain biking is pretty accessible for a lot of different age groups and physical builds. You don't have to be in the greatest shape to enjoy riding mountain bikes anymore if you have an e-bike. If you're concerned, hey, I'm getting a little bit older, I'm getting my 50s, 60s, 70s, I can't keep up with like my kids or my grandkids, you got an e-bike, you're keeping up with them. The other thing is, if age and physical fitness isn't a factor, if you're in good shape, you ride an e-bike, you're gonna ride more miles each day.
E-bikes have changed mountain biking for me because it's made it so much easier to get more laps in as needed and just allowing me to go more places than I would normally since I wouldn't have enough energy.
There's usually 3 settings, something like low, medium, high. I usually keep mine on low, which is called trail mode, which just gives you that little extra boost of going over rocks easier, climbing hills easier. And an analog bike, you don't have any of that extra power behind you. You just, you have fun, but you're gonna pay for it. It's a lot more work.
Compared to a normal analog bike, e-bikes don't require a lot more maintenance. There's a few things you're gonna have to pay attention to. You gotta take care of your battery, which means you gotta charge it. Eventually your battery will probably go bad and you'll have to replace it. And in theory, motors do go out. Most companies have really good warranties now, and then you might need to get them serviced from time to time.
You can ride longer, you can ride farther, and it's actually pedal assist. It is not a motor, so it's not anything that you're revving or taking a free ride, you're pedaling, and you've got a little boost behind you to get you up those hills.
E-bikes are a lot heavier than normal bikes, which does make a huge difference in the type of riding that you're doing. If you're doing more technical stuff, it can be a lot more challenging. In my personal opinion, being a scrawny girl, it's hard to lug around a huge e-bike, but it is a lot easier on the climbing. And then even sometimes it's more difficult on the climbing for like chunkier stuff. Lifting it up certain rocks, it can be a lot more challenging, but it is super fun to ride.
A full power e-bike is going to give you up to 250 watts of power added to your pedal stroke. They do weigh more, but they do also usually have more range. Lately, there's been a really big movement towards lightweight e-bikes. They don't make as much power, but they're lighter weight. The biggest surprise most people have about e-bikes, once they let their guard down and ride one, is just how much fun they are. Everyone kind of looks down their nose and thinks, oh, I don't need that, I'm in good shape, that's no fun, they're too heavy. I've never met anybody who got on an e-bike and got off without a smile. They are a load of fun. Staying connected off-grid has never been easier thanks to new technology. The fear of getting stranded without the ability to contact anyone has always been a real fear, but not any longer. Starlink makes a portable unit that connects to satellites anywhere in North America where you can get a clear, unobstructed view of the sky. This provides reliable, high-speed access to the internet and allows for phone calls, video calls, gaming, streaming your favorite movies, and everything you can do with normal internet. There's a portable version like this, and there are kits that allow it to be permanently attached to your vehicles. The electronic hardware cost is around $600 to $700. There's a monthly fee of less than $100 in most places, and there are no contracts. We've been using these since they first came out, and now we take them on every trip.
It has forever changed camping, and it is one of the first things we set up when I'm there.
Starlink sets up in minutes, and overall performance is impressive. It gives us peace of mind we used to only get from satellite phones, but gives us so much more in terms of connectivity.
The Toyota Tundra is one of the most popular trucks on the market, and we are huge fans. It's why Ken and Wyatt Faught chose it as their personal vehicle for the Alaska trip.
I've owned Toyota Tundras for over 20 years and absolutely love them. For this trip, I wanted something that had more powerful motor because I'm towing an overland trailer, in my case an Opus OP15. I also wanted to have a longer bed because I'm carrying lots of gear. When we first started designing the Tundra, I told the group that I had a lot of specific goals, and my first goal was that I wanted something that was very off-road capable and yet allowed me to be able to enjoy all the facets of overlanding. So we started off with a really good base for off-road, and that includes suspension, wheels, tires, and bumpers, and of course armor. Then from there, we started looking at things like recovery gear. We wanted to have a solid winch. We wanted to have all the different things like traction boards, and all the gear if we have to pull ourselves out of a jam. Then from there, we turned our attention on what I call the living quarters, and that's a rooftop tent that is, having extra power on there, solar, lithium batteries, and all the different accoutrements that really make it comfortable. Then from there, I decided to focus my time on the lighting package. I wanted something that was very robust. I know the power, of the current technology, and I wanted to make sure we were taking advantage of everything that was out there. And then to top it off, I wanted to make sure that the interior of the vehicle was very well thought out. So we added a lot of products to be able to support things like GPS and Garmin systems and iPhones and other things.
While designing the build, storage was a very important factor. Me and my father are out of this thing for a very long trip. So we need all the storage for camp gear, living gear, tools, camera gear, food, just about anything you can think of.
So the crew began the project by taking the truck to Leitner Designs in Corona, California. Inventor and founder Bernard Leitner installed their famous active cargo system, their roof rack system, along with their gearbox, storage box, and other accessories.
From there, I drove to Utah to have Expedition 1 bumpers installed front and rear at Fat Bob's Garage. These bumpers are some of the strongest on the market, and the fit and finish is incredible. There are actually a lot of modifications that need to be made, so we wanted to let the experts handle this task.
Next came the biggest change of the entire project, the wrap. Elise Coatney, our longtime designer, created graphics for both of our Toyotas and flopped the colors so each one was different. The Daily Visuals crew spent a couple days doing the install before the truck was driven to wire by Greg.
Greg Amendola and his crew spent about 10 days wiring all the accessories, and it's a lot more complicated than people think. We used a Goose Gear rear seat delete kit in the back of the truck, and this was one of the best things we could have done. We placed 200 amp hours of Dakota lithium batteries and all the Victron power management equipment where passengers would normally sit. This also provided a perfect shelf for the sliding IceCo dual zone refrigerator and for camera gear. We added a lot of equipment including Sunflare Solar, 24 lights from KC Highlights, a come-up winch, Alpha Rex headlights, Weeboo cell phone amplifier, a Midland radio, Garmin GPS, Cascadia 4x4 hood-mounted solar, and Anderson connectors for trailer power and accessories. Yes, we're definitely asking a lot from the electrical system.
On the back of the truck, it's a little more interesting than your average spare tire rack. So of course we have the nice bumpers with swing outs, but then we also mounted an Otzi Gear mod rack with a Leitner roof pod on top to get just a little more storage.
Because we went with larger 35-inch Maxxis tires, the spare would no longer fit under the vehicle, so we actually had to mount the spare on the swing out in the bumper. It's an absolutely perfect location for this trip. We started this project knowing that we needed a lot of space to carry gear. The extra storage items included a deck drawer system that really helped make the entire trip more comfortable. I am also happy with the decision to pull an Opus OP15 trailer because it's a game changer when you're on the road for almost 2 months. I'm a really big fan of off-roading at night, especially when you've got a lot of quality equipment. Off-roading at night takes things to a whole nother dimension because you get to focus on the areas just where the light hits, and you also have a lot of shadow detail where you can see a lot of the bumps and changes in terrain. The key elements for off-road lighting are to be able to have things at different levels. You want things at the fog light level, you want increased power where the normal headlight lines are, and then you want to have lights on the roof. For me, I also like to have a lot of side lights, and then I go with rock lights in the wheel wells that allow me to look down and place the wheels in specific areas when I get into more technical terrain. I got to really appreciate the lights even more when Katharina Bertolino joined us for nearly 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, and the lights. I grew up in Washington State. We used to go 4-bying around this mountain called Larch Mountain. We couldn't see anything. We were out here the other night, it was about midnight, so Ken turned on those amber lights because there was someone in front of us and all that dust, it like disappeared. It was amazing, no matter how fast you were going.
My favorite part of the build is that it's completely self-sufficient. I specifically chose the GoFSR Evolution V2 rooftop tent because that is where I'm spending most of my time at night. I bring my own pillow, the correct rated sleeping bag. I've even upgraded to a Roam Rest Pioneer Overland mattress. I also bring a portable power unit up with me. charge my phone, power my laptop, and run the lights. I also love the entire power system. The battery and solar combination do an excellent job of keeping up with our demands. And there are things like our ice-cold refrigerator that run all the time. So losing power could spoil all of our food and leave you in a really bad situation.
The thing I like most is knowing this truck is extremely capable. Whether you are towing a trailer or driving the truck by itself, it can go just about anywhere you want to go. The biggest challenge with this build is its sheer size. We chose a 6.5-foot bed with the CrewMax cab, and that limited some of the places we wanted to go compared to our smaller 4Runner. We knew this going into the project, but wanted to point it out just because it's a genuine concern. Another fact is that the aftermarket makes tons of parts for Toyotas, and that's a huge plus in our book. We also like the fact that there are Toyota dealers all over North America, so getting spare parts or service isn't ever a big challenge. After all, there's nothing worse than getting stranded when there's no simple solution to get back on the trail.
You can see a complete list of parts used to build our Tundra at offroadtraveltv.com. Whistler's more than just a biking haven, it's an experience. The stunning views, endless rivers, and rugged landscapes make it a place like no other. Let's dive into the adventure.
What I liked most about the region of Whistler was undoubtedly the views and everything else. You know, being able to go up there and ride mountain bikes with our group and be able to look at all the incredible mountains and the sheer volume of lakes and rivers and streams and stuff out there is absolutely unreal. You know, I'm from Southern California. A lot of it is a desert climate, so we don't get that. So when you can see bodies of water, you know, every couple miles, it is really refreshing. And, you know, you definitely get it. You know, it's a place that has a lot of snow.
Being able to have a lot of fun mountain biking and even off-roading, it really brought the experience together.
The valley and the mountains around Whistler are incredible. Some of the best riding I've ever seen, and just, it's so pretty. You could go there just for the sightseeing and have an amazing time.
Planning is key, and it's led us to some hidden gems, like the secluded campsite by the water. But getting there was a rewarding challenge, worth every bump.
So the planning process has allowed us to find some really unique places, especially more interesting than your average campground. In Whistler, we found this incredible camping spot up in the water that we had to take probably about 25-30 minutes worth of logging roads, which on its own, you could probably take an SUV up. But with trailers, it was a fun time to sit there and think and have to drive the trails. It was some good off-roading, and there's plenty more around if you know where to look. Along with us, we also packed these inflatable, packable Kokopelli kayaks, and honestly, they're awesome. Having the ability to just say, screw it, and inflate them and put them in the water is awesome, especially when you get to camp in really cool places like this that are on the water. It's the best. What I like most about kayaking is I just love paddling and being on the water.
My favorite thing about road trips is just spending time with Wyatt. Having a 20-year-old and being able to sit there in a car, you know, for, 7,000, 8,000 miles on this trip, get to learn a lot about, what they want to do. I get to see a different side of him because he's getting to have a lot of incredible life experiences that most people his age can't even fathom until they're much older.
I would say Whistler didn't live up to my expectations. It drastically exceeded my expectations. You can look at maps, you can look at YouTube videos, you can come in thinking you know how amazing it's gonna be, and I promise you it's gonna exceed what you think it is.
Off-roading in Canada is on another level. Diverse landscapes, rivers, waterfalls, and plenty of adrenaline. Let's explore the trails that made this trip unforgettable.
So one of the great things about the internet is being able to meet people in different parts of the world. And in this case, we met a guy that is into off-roading, that knows the local trails, and was able to take us on an incredible, fun, full one-day ride.
I live around here and I wheel around here. So I was like, hey, he's visiting with the TV crew, so I'm like, let's show him around and let's take him to all the good spots. But my favorite part about wheeling in Canada is just the diversity in landscape. I would compare it to Washington. The Pacific Northwest in general really has a lot to offer, but you just have to know where they are.
One of the things that made off-roading here so much fun is all the water. You know, we wound up going across some cool bridges with a lot of waterfalls and stream crossings and river crossings and stuff. It was absolutely incredible. And the amount of streams that feed into the big river is massive. You know, you've got so much snow in the winter here that all that snow has to melt and go someplace. So the amount of water, the fact that the people here depend on off-road trails and stuff to be able to get to different places. And what's neat in Canada is that you find a lot of cabins that are way off the beaten path, 40, 50 miles away from a normal, you know, major road or major city. So it's really cool.
So yeah, Squamish, it's in British Columbia, and the area we're in is called Crown Land, so it's the equivalent of BLM land in the US, right? So basically it's land for the people. There's a lot of trails in Squamish, and basically we're kind of following the river. I believe it's called the Squamish River, and there's a lot of wheeling between the two valleys. And we went about 60 miles out into the backcountry, and we crossed some bridges. We came up really close to a lot of pretty epic waterfalls. There's a lot of really nice spots, but you just have to know where they are. There's no such thing as an overlanding season in Canada. All you need are probably good tires, a diesel heater, and you're good to go. Sometimes wheeling in the snow is a lot more fun. We don't get a lot of snow up here unless you're in your high elevation.
Modding on Tacoma is never ending. From upgrades to new gears, there's always room for improvement.
Well, my Tacoma started stock 2.5 years ago, and it's been through so many different versions. I put cheaper parts on it, didn't like it, upgraded, got better parts. Right now, I'm pretty happy with it, but as you know, it's always a work in process. Still got to get the bed stiffeners in, still got to get more storage options in, so it's kind of never ending, but I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Overlanding is really popular in Canada. It's definitely growing. There's a lot more people coming out into the backcountry, especially since COVID. It's definitely been boosted since then.
So I think the biggest lesson I learned on this trip is to slow down the pace a little bit. We were pretty aggressive as a group to figure that we wanted to accomplish about 250 miles a day, and that's a lot, you know, especially with everything that we're trying to throw in there. The other thing that I've learned is that the importance of being able to stay at the same place a couple nights in a row. That way you can actually refresh, re-energize, be able to get all the enthusiasm and the motivation and everything else out. And it actually takes a lot, setting everything up, then knowing that you're going to be breaking everything down at 7, 8 in the morning the next day, and you're going to be driving for another 9 hours.